Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
An ambitious goal to revitalize downtown San Diego and build affordable housing is facing an uncertain future. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Today was the deadline for developers to submit proposals to redevelop 5 blocks of publicly owned land. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen has more.
City Hall and the surrounding high-rise office buildings owned by the city are in bad shape and in need of revitalization. Last April, the city declared the properties surplus land, hoping to find developers who could build a mix of market rate and subsidized affordable housing. The money from that deal would go towards building a new city hall. Josh Coyne of the nonprofit Downtown San Diego Partnership says the large size of the land presents big opportunities.
As you can tell, we're standing here in it today. It's a little underutilized, has an incredible opportunity to expand civic space, not only for access to our city hall, but through green space, housing, mixed use, redevelopment. We're also on C Street, which is a major thoroughfare for the trolley. So transit has been a really big priority for us to consider as well.
The city set a deadline of August 4th to submit bids, and it left the door open to several options. One mega project covering all 5 blocks, or a phased approach of developing each block separately. Jay Goldstone is overseeing the redevelopment process for Mayor Todd Gloria. He says so far there hasn't been a whole lot of interest.
I think people are maybe waiting a little bit on the sidelines to see what happens here. We may get proposals for 1 or 2 of the blocks, but as I've stated in the past, I would be very pleasantly surprised if we get any proposals for all 5 blocks.
If the city doesn't get any responsive bids, it can try again with a more flexible pitch to developers, such as a project with less affordable housing. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Well, the heat is back. We're certainly cranking it up as we head throughout the weekend. High pressure large and in charge as it slides west yet again. Now through Sunday, we are going to be on a warming trend running 5 to 15 degrees above those historical averages with that record daily highs challenged across a lot of the Southwest. I'll show you what areas are going to be the hottest and when we could see another cool down.
The summer heat gives way to the fall semester for thousands of students across the county. In Oceanside, school officials are working to combat chronic absenteeism even before the first day of school. KPBS education reporter MG Perez explains.
There isn't much time left for summer skateboarding here at Prince Park. Students in the Oceanside Unified School District go back to class August 15th. 13-year-old Nina Ye is one of them. She wants to be a professional skateboarder someday, and she has a plan to study, train, and not miss school.
You go to school, you do schoolwork, and then once you get out around 3, you go to the skate park and you have fun.
Oceanside Unified has a team of 20 counselors, support staff, and a social worker making house calls and delivering backpacks full of school supplies to students who missed more than 18 days of school last year. They are considered chronically absent, and there are 3,000 of them, like Sheila Golding's 9-year-old granddaughter who missed more than a month of classes here at Palmquist Elementary.
In 2nd grade, she started having issues, and she had the health issues, and that's where it all started. Because like I said, once they miss, they don't want to go back.
We're just calling to check in with families and remind them that August 15th is the first day of school this year.
Some call Maria Al-Shama the kid whisperer. She's actually the district social worker who has made 700 phone calls in the last 2 weeks.
Parents don't realize when you have your kids out a day or two here or there that in actuality that really adds up. So 2 days a month ends up being 10% of the school year.
California does have truancy laws with real legal consequences for parents whose children don't show up for school. But that's not what this is about. The Oceanside District is committed to being part of the solution and not the problem.
We want to know before the school year starts, are you all set up? Do you have what you need? Is there anything that we can do to support you proactively? And do you know when school starts and when your back to school nights are and when you can register?
Students like Nina Ye are already skating to success for the new school year. MG Perez, KPBS News.
As has been the case every summer since 2020, COVID activity is up across San Diego County. According to the latest county data, test positivity is up 9.2% compared to 3.5% in late May. And the 7-day average for COVID-related hospitalizations was 63 last month. It comes as major pharmacies brace for the fall virus season. John Lawrence reports.
The Department of Health and Human Services declared the end of the COVID-19 public health emergency on May 11th, but the virus itself never faded away.
All regions of the country are showing increases in hospitalizations.
Medical experts say one reason for this rise, many are avoiding the outdoors to beat the grueling summer heat.
And when you're inside, the ventilation's different, people are closer together. So I think that's part of it.
Numerous pharmacy chains, including CVS, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, say they'll have the new COVID-19 vaccines once they're authorized by the Food and Drug Administration and recommended by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
The good news is we have much less COVID-19 being circulated, it looks like, and we certainly see much less consequential COVID-19.
Pfizer officials say they expect to have a COVID shot ready for the public sometime next month.
A lot of people haven't had a vaccine in a year. Well, what do we know about the vaccines? They're great for the first 4 months for every age group, and then they start to slack at 6 months.
That's why health officials are advising people to prepare themselves for the fall by rolling up their sleeves.
There's going to be a massive push across the United States to get your flu shot and to get your COVID vaccine updated, and then for the over 60, get that new RSV vaccine.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
North County's newest hospital is preparing to open next week. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman got a look inside of the new Kaiser Hospital in San Marcos.
Safe monitoring of the mom as well as the babies that are delivered here.
This surgical room is empty now, but in a matter of days, it and the rest of Kaiser's San Marcos Medical Center will be accepting patients.
We are planning to be busy, and we just don't know how fast we will get busy.
Dr. Michael Lawlich is Kaiser San Diego's area medical director and chief of staff. He says this new hospital has room for 206 beds. They'll start with fewer and grow as needed. Kaiser has around 188,000 members in North County alone.
We really are trying to meet the needs of our patients where they live or where they work, and that's why we added this facility.
The hospital comes with a new labor and delivery department, which includes a neonatal intensive care unit, or NICU. Palomar Health's Poway Medical Center recently closed its labor and delivery services and moved that to Escondido. And Tri-City Hospital in Oceanside recently suspended those services due to a lack of births. But Kaiser is confident they'll have plenty of expecting families.
Before opening this hospital, partnered with Palomar and had our deliveries at Palomar, where we had 80 to 100 or so deliveries a month. At Palomar, we'll be bringing all of that work in here.
Kaiser officials say they'll still partner with Palomar Health and Tri-City for some services, but the idea is that patients who live in North County will come here now. Another area that's expected to be busy is the emergency room. This hospital is about 2/3 the size of Kaiser's hospital in Kearny Mesa, but it has the same size emergency room.
We've been exceptionally busy, and that was part of why we needed this third hospital, to really have an extra emergency room to spread out our care.
The hospital also has some firsts for Kaiser, like this specialized safe room. It's meant for patients experiencing a mental health crisis. It has a retractable door to keep equipment out of reach.
It includes the tables, the stools, the linen hamper.
Across the country, healthcare has seen staffing shortages. It's something that officials here are familiar with.
We are fully staffed, and yes, it was a challenge. We spent the last 6 months working on recruiting and hiring, and we've been able to hire 1,000 new positions, but it was not easy.
Villalobos says staffing in the imaging department and surgical techs were the hardest positions to fill. Kaiser officials say as North County grows, there's more room to expand services.
This community is growing. San Marcos is one of the areas that has the largest growth.
The new Kaiser San Marcos Hospital opens Wednesday. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
The University of San Diego is expected to release its final report on threats against local elected officials any day now. Preliminary findings show female politicians are targeted more frequently than men. KPBS's Amitha Sharma spoke to women who've been threatened, and a warning: this story contains graphic language.
You disgusting fat pig. I hope they gut you like the slob that you are and hang you up to drip dry.
That is Chula Vista Elementary School Board member Kate Bishop reading a message she received on social media. She says threats like this intensify when she advocates for issues like closing the achievement gap between Black and white students or being more inclusive of LGBTQ students and staff.
You're a bitch and you are a dog on a leash and you're wrong.
That's former National City Mayor Alejandra Sotelo Solis recounting an attack from a man after a city council meeting in 2014. The experiences of Bishop and Sotelo Solis align with a recent USD poll aimed at gauging threats against local elected officials. The survey found 66% of male office holders reported being threatened or harassed, compared to 82% of their female counterparts. And 2/3 of those polled said the intimidation has worsened since they first entered office. UC San Diego political science professor Barbara Walter said the election of former President Donald Trump in 2016 is a big reason for the jump.
Trump was the first president who would vocalize violence as a legitimate tool. So we know that is increasing. It tracks with a rise in all sorts of other types of violent behavior and violent language that we have been seeing.
Walter says part of the current backlash against women politicians is tied to the far right. The white Christian element of the movement wants American society to revert back to a time when women were subservient to men.
They feel that women are not equal to men, that they should not be empowered to make decisions that could affect men. They don't even believe women should be empowered to make decisions about themselves.
More than half of San Diego elected officials in the USD poll say they've considered leaving office. Walter says that finding shows threats are working.
It's a form of verbal terrorism designed to basically verbally beat your target into submission.
Bishop and Sotelo Solis say the threats haven't driven them from public service, but they do seek accountability. Bishop contacts police when she receives severe threats. Sotelo Solis got a 3-year restraining order against the man who berated her outside the council meeting in 2014.
As public officials, when those threats are made, you need to report it. Because it's about that paper trail. Because if one person does that and then does it to another person, who knows what the cycle could be of violence and abuse.
Bishop says she has developed a thick skin, but it is still hard not to internalize the vitriol.
I'm a human being, so for a second, it hits me hard. And I say, God, that's scary. Like, that's, depending on the type of threat, too. If it's just a person railing at me, it's easier to just be like, okay, whatever, it's fine. You know, they're sharing their feelings with me in an unhelpful way. When it's like really graphic or sexual, I usually talk to my husband, and then I realize that the person making the threat doesn't have the words to express their emotions healthily.
Bishop believes expanded mental health care and teaching school children how to communicate without rancor are among the solutions to restoring civility in public discourse. Walters says any attempt to decrease threats against elected officials is incomplete unless social media platforms face tighter controls. She argues it's possible while still protecting free speech.
Let people put whatever they want on the internet. Regulate the algorithms that right now are all designed to disproportionately favor the most incendiary material, the stuff that triggers fear and anger and hate, because that's what our brains are designed to focus on more heavily.
Bishop says despite her experience, she encourages women to run for office, and she coaches them on how to shield themselves from threats.
And keep your cool and keep your resolve to keep going.
Amita Sharma, KPBS News.
If you live in District 4 and would prefer to vote for a new county supervisor in person, you can soon do so. Starting tomorrow, 7 voting centers will open for in-person votes or ballot drop-offs. Locations are listed on your screen now. District 4 includes Central San Diego, La Mesa, Lemon Grove, and Spring Valley. Voting centers open daily from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. through August 14th. The last day to submit a vote by mail is August 15th. We have all the information that you need to get caught up on the special election, including interviews with the candidates. Just go to kpbs.org and click on the Voter Hub link on our homepage. San Diego County coastal shores have been shrinking, and cities have had to replenish sand to keep beaches open. But that sand is also disappearing faster. Now, as KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne shows us, the city of Oceanside is getting some advice from international experts.
Sunny summer days call for beach trips in the city of Oceanside. But before chairs and towels can be laid out, machines and pipes are hard at work prepping for the busy season. The annual dredging project moves sand from the harbor onto the beach months in advance.
So what we've been doing since 1960s is taking the sand out of the harbor and placing it on the beaches, and we generally place it as far south as we can get. And it usually ends up being like right around here.
Jamie Timberlake, the coastal zone administrator with the city of Oceanside, says the pipes bringing the sand in can only reach so far. So beaches south of the pier are suffering from sand loss more severely.
That sand does not move down into South Oceanside and then nourish their beaches. It ends up either moving north or it ends up moving offshore.
Timberlake says the loss of sand is happening quicker all along the coast due to erosion, among other reasons.
What we need is to retain sand better. We need to be able to place sand and then retain it. So the sand nourishment is going to continue. We're going to still need to do that. We're going to still do the harbor dredging. We're going to still need to find offshore sand. But what we don't want to do is take the sand from offshore, place it on our beaches, and then see it gone within one storm.
And for that, the city of Oceanside is enlisting the help from experts for innovative solutions, some from across the world.
We have selected 3 design teams to move forward into a competition to design a sand retention project for the city.
The international call to action got the attention of dozens of different firms that formed teams. The final 3 teams are from Staten Island, New York, Australia, and the Netherlands.
We cannot wait to see what the design competition is going to yield and what these international design firms will give us from their own backgrounds and from their own experience.
The contract for the project is $2.6 million, being allocated from the American Rescue Plan Act. 3 public workshops will be held for community feedback and design input. The first workshop will be August 29th in council chambers. A final design is expected to be presented to City Council for approval by early next year. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
Right now, 62 million people are under heat alerts across the U.S. This as heavy rainfall and severe storms strike several states. Mike Valerio has the latest.
Roads turn to rivers, trees ripped from their roots, blocking off roadways, relentless rainfall triggering flooding and devastation across parts of Missouri and Illinois. This as a new round of blistering temperatures is expected to sear the South, with more than 140 heat records having the potential to be shattered this weekend.
See the temperatures, they're really bad.
Extreme temperatures proving lethal across the U.S. Pima County, Arizona, reporting 64 heat-related deaths so far this year, and 14 people have been killed by the heat in Maricopa County this past week, where the city of Phoenix is forecast to see sizzling temperatures over 110 for the next 7 days.
This is unreal. Day, night, never seen anything like it.
In Florida,
I think we saw exactly what we feared, which is that this is the moving front of severe bleaching up through the Keys and now up into Miami-Dade.
Scorching water temperatures are having devastating bleaching impacts on coral life, which are melting off their skeletons in the unusually warm ocean water. Florida wildlife officials posting on Facebook, due to the extreme heat, octocorals like sea fans and sea plumes are melting off their skeletons. Fish kills, conch kills, and sponge die-offs have been reported throughout the Keys as well. Mike Valerio, KPBS News.
Well, let's start you off with your weather headlines. What you need to know as we head into the weekend. Well, we are surely cranking up that heat as temperatures soar. We have this warming trend that's going to stick with us throughout the weekend. Now, those coastal low clouds will break apart this weekend, so we aren't dealing with too many low-level clouds along the coast and even further inland like we have been, though we do have another push of onshore flow into next week that's going to be bringing those temperatures down and also that return of the clouds. Friday into Sunday, that's when that heat is going to continue to expand. We have high pressure, large and in charge. It slides west, and that's going to include southeast California running 5 to 15 degrees above those historical averages with those record highs challenged. Most areas, though, will remain dry. We do have an excessive heat warning in effect that includes the deserts, Borrego Springs towards Westmoreland. Excessive heat warning goes from Saturday morning into Monday evening, so we do have lots of days on tap that are included under this heat warning, so make sure you're taking care of yourself in the heat. Tonight, we're dropping down to 66 right around San Diego, though tomorrow, Oceanside rises to 80, Borrego Springs 108, Mount Laguna not doing too shabby at 76, and even San Diego rising to a high of 78. Now, along the coast, temperatures are going to be remaining relatively steady, a slight boost throughout the weekend, again, as we're going to feel that heat into the low to mid 80s with mostly sunny skies. And then as we head further inland, while highs are going to rise to the upper 90s by Sunday, 97 for the high. Monday will dip back down to 91, and then we'll steadily start to cool a little bit further inland as we head into the middle of next week. Now, for the mountains, highs remaining relatively steady in the mid 70s, a little warmer too. Again, they're feeling the heat, 73 on Monday. 71 Tuesday with a high of 67 by Wednesday. But air across the deserts, well, temperatures remaining in the triple digits. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Bree Guy.
Nearly 100 days into the writers' strike, there are signs of progress. Today, thousands of Writers Guild of America and SAG-AFTRA picketers marched outside Hollywood studios. At the same time, WGA negotiators were expected to meet with major studio representatives to discuss resuming labor talks. It's the first meeting since writers went on strike on May 2nd. The union is calling for higher residual pay for streaming programs, staffing guarantees, and regulations on the use of AI. The hottest ticket in Southern California this weekend is Taylor Swift at LA SoFi Stadium. SDSU's Mira Kopik talks about the economic powerhouse that is the Eras Tour in the Friday Business Report.
There's going to be about 500,000 attendees over these 6 concerts that began last night. It's going to have about $150 million in economic impact to to Los Angeles. Just to put it into perspective, Comic-Con, which is a staple here in San Diego over 4 days, generates about $165 million. And that is a signature event for the city of San Diego. So Taylor Swift has the same economic impact across all the cities that she goes to. So for example, second-tier cities that she just announced last night that she's going to go to Indianapolis or New Orleans for 3 shows in a row. Those cities, in terms of their hotel industry, restaurants, bars, are going to be phenomenal. They could be game-changing for the year for those cities. And in fact, the Federal Reserve, in their comments about economic growth in the second quarter, called out her concert because they anticipate that concert to generate in the United States, across her 50 cities, over $4.6 billion in economic impact.
And finally tonight, a woman in El Cajon is celebrating her 106th birthday. Her name is Ann Strutz. Today, Meals on Wheels San Diego County made a special birthday delivery for their client with balloons, flowers, and other gifts. Ann lives alone, and her family says she's very active, healthy, and she still cooks for herself. When asked what's her secret to living a long time, she said she had this to say.
Secret? I really, I think it's really God who's responsible. For some reason, he wants me to hang around here. I don't know why.
Meals on Wheels shared Ann's story to encourage people to volunteer and share experiences like these with local seniors, and to wish Ann a very happy 106th birthday. Incredible. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.